Washington State. A gunman there shoots 5 people, killing 1 and critically injuring at least 3 others.
The suspect, 17-year-old Demetrius Pagorchis, in jail tonight, charged with capital murder.
Who opened fire in his high school cafeteria today.
He'd gotten into a fight over a girl. He'd expressed his anger on
Zoe Galasso died Friday. They were shot by Jalen Freiberg, who then took his own life.
And then 3 more went off and everyone started screaming, "Run, it's a gun!"
So what made a homecoming prince into a cold-blooded killer?
Marysville Pilchuck High School, 2014. In 2014, 15-year-old freshman Jalen Freiberg opened fire inside the school cafeteria of Marysville Pilchuck High School, resulting in a tragic incident that deeply impacted the community and left a lasting mark on the school. A total of 6 lives were taken on that fateful day, including the perpetrator who accidentally inflicted himself with the weapon. We'll get through that in a while. But who is Freiberg and what were his intentions? Freiberg was a wrestler and football player at his school, and according to his schoolmates, he was an outgoing and popular guy. I mean, look at the kid. From an outsider's perspective, he seems just like a normal high schooler, as his friends described him. A week before the shooting incident, Freiberg was announced as the school's freshman homecoming prince at a football game.
So what made a homecoming prince into a cold-blooded killer?
That really says a lot about the kind of kid Freiberg was. His character traits and personality greatly differ from the other school shooters discussed in this channel. He had many friends, including those he shot, but all of a sudden, his behavior changed for the worst. It was reported that his grades were slipping and he was having difficulties adjusting in school, resulting in missing classes for multiple days. He also had a huge interest in hunting and using rifles, even posting them on social media. Speaking of social media, Freiberg's tweets on Twitter rooted back to his intent in the shooting. On June 20th, he tweeted about a girl that he loves, and the following summer, the tweets took a sour turn. Freiberg's tweets had become threatening. Apparently, he was turned down by a girl named Zoe Rain Galasso, who was later identified as one of the victims in the shooting, alongside a male student who had an argument with Freiberg about Galasso. At the time of the shooting, Freiberg also sent pictures of himself holding a weapon to his ex-girlfriend, Shailene George. Apparently, she ended the relationship prior to the shooting because Freiberg started becoming violent toward her. Freiberg texted his friends, including his love interest, on the day of the shooting, to meet him for lunch at the cafeteria, urging some to skip classes for the important meeting. Before this, he also sent text messages to the family and friends of the victims and apologized for the actions he would be taking. His friends all sat together at one table, but Freiberg sat at another. At around 10:39, he stood up, approached the table of his friends, and had an argument with them. He then pulled out his weapon and fired at his friend. One student claimed that a school staff member tried to tackle Freiberg and caused Freiberg to accidentally shoot himself in the neck, causing his demise. He only targeted those who were seated at the table, and he didn't attack the other kids in the cafeteria. Eyewitnesses claimed he had a blank stare while shooting the victims. After careful examination, experts clarified that Freiberg's demise was self-inflicted and not caused by the teacher who was trying to assess the situation while Freiberg was reloading the weapon. Just like other school shootings, the intent of Freiberg was a pathetic one because a girl would not date him. It turns out that the weapon Freiberg used belonged to his father, Raymond. On March 15th, Raymond was arrested for purchasing 5 firearms, including the one Freiberg used. He was only sentenced to 2 years in prison.
The scene here is surreal. You see parents reuniting with emotional kids everywhere you look.
Zoe Galasso immediately lost her life in the cafeteria.
Zoe Galasso died Friday. They were shot by Jalen Freiberg, who then took his own life.
Gia Soriano was in the hospital for 2 more days, but inevitably didn't survive her headshot wounds. The same goes for Shaylee Chuckle-Naskett, was in the hospital for a week, and the shooter's cousin was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Both did not survive the fatal wounds. Santa Fe High School, 2018. On May 18, 2018, the Santa Fe High School shooting occurred in Santa Fe, Texas. It was a devastating incident that shook the community and brought the issue of school shootings to the forefront once more. During the attack, Demetrios Pagorchis, a 17-year-old student, entered Santa Fe High School armed with 2 different weapons. He targeted his classmates and faculty. 8 students and 2 teachers were slain in the process. 13 others were injured due to the shooting. Pagorchis was described as a calm and reserved student. According to reports, he had difficulties and felt alone at school. possibly due to bullying. Details about his personal life and family are not widely known. The Santa Fe Independent School District had proactively implemented an active shooter plan, along with the presence of 2 armed police officers who regularly engaged with the students within the school. Notably, the year preceding the tragic incidents, the school district administration devised plans to participate in the Texas School Marshal Program, which involved arming selected teachers and staff members. This decision was made as a precautionary measure aimed at bolstering security and ensuring preparedness in the face of potential threats. During the Santa Fe High School shooting, the shooter entered a classroom, saying "another one bites the dust" between shots, and targeted a specific student. Students sought refuge in a storage closet but were found and shot at. In the midst of the chaos, students displayed incredible courage by administering first aid to the victims. One of his former teachers even described him as a quiet kid, but in a creepy way. If it's worth mentioning, Pagortis was an honor student and played on the school football team. In an interview with one of the eyewitnesses, a reporter asked the student if it ever occurred to her that the shooting wasn't real or that it wouldn't happen in her school. She responded no and said, "It's been happening everywhere," she said. I've always kind of felt like eventually it's going to happen here too." This has to be one of the most tragic things a child could ever feel. The normalization of school shootings in the US has turned citizens so desensitized that they just expect it.
I shouldn't have to feel like that, and I feel scared to even go back.
Pagortis was sent to the Galveston County Jail with 2 felony charges. But because of how young he was then, he was ineligible for the death penalty. Once convicted, he will serve 40 years in jail. As for his parents, 2 of the victims' parents filed a lawsuit against his father for not being able to properly secure his weapons and for their negligence. One police officer named John Barnes was considered a hero for tackling Pagortis and was wounded. As a matter of fact, it was the 22nd school shooting incident that year, and the school made a reminder that it shouldn't be forgotten. Now at 22 years old, Pagortis remains mentally incompetent to stand trial. Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, 2018. On February 14, 2018, while students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida were celebrating Valentine's Day, Nikolas Cruz took the lives of 17 individuals and injured many more. It's known to be one of the most horrifying shootings in American history, among many others. Cruz had a troubled background and a history of mental health issues, unlike the other 2 shooters we mentioned in this video. His childhood was erratic because he was given up for adoption after his parents' demise. He had been moving houses for most of his childhood. There are reports of him having aggressive behavior, times when he harmed and slaughtered animals, and he has taken multiple disciplinary actions. He had to transfer to 6 different schools in 3 years because of his behavior. In 2016, Cruz shared a photo of his bloodied wrist on social media, saying he needed a weapon. One faculty member saw this photo and immediately raised an involuntary psychiatric examination for Cruz. But a mental health institution in the state disagreed, saying that he wasn't at risk of harming himself or others. On February 5, 2016, there was an anonymous report stating that Cruz had made threats about carrying out a shooting at the school. Another tip on November 30, 2017 raised concerns that he could potentially become a school shooter, and mentions his collection of knives and weapons. In response to these incidents, the school intended to conduct a threat assessment. The lack of proactiveness on their side could have prevented the massacre of Marjory Stoneman students. It was indeed a significant oversight. Police discovered magazines at the crime scene that were marked with carved swastikas. According to a student, Cruz had drawn a swastika and made derogatory remarks about people of African descent. Cruz was also in an exclusive Instagram group chat where he frequently expressed his homophobic, anti-Semitic, and xenophobic sentiments. In one instance, Cruz made a statement in the group chat suggesting he was contemplating harming others, although he later claimed it was meant as a joke. During the attack, Cruz entered the school with his weapon and initiated a fire alarm to lure students and teachers into the hallways. He targeted individuals in multiple classrooms and hallways, causing widespread panic and devastation. Within 6 minutes, he claimed the lives of 17 victims. Cruz attempted to blend in with the fleeing students, but was apprehended by law enforcement on the same day. The incident sparked a public outcry, with differing opinions on firearm regulations and school safety measures. Students from Parkland established the Never Again MSD movement, advocating for policies to protect students in schools. Cruz faced 17 counts of first-degree murder and pleaded guilty to all charges. He received a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. In a confession video, Cruz's brother visited him, expressing overwhelming guilt and struggling to comprehend the situation.
I care about you, alright? I care about you, dog.